I read the Bible for the first time when I was 6 years old. Front to back, the whole thing. My mom slapped the shit out of me for that because I wrote my name on the side after I was done reading it. I was on a home visit. I stopped praying to God when I was 17. I was going through a lot of abuse, and the bad guys always win. My mom and Doug Cowden stole my money. He was supposed to get me a car with it. I went with him to go get the car. I was supposed to see the car before the money exchanged hands, but he came back with marijuana instead. And some cocaine. Him and my brother snorted the cocaine. And then they went back to my mom's house. Doug lived in a trailer just behind the house, and I was working for him as a roofer. He'd taken some of my money because he needed money for tools. Well, he'd also borrowed money from like 8 other people in town for tools, including Gary Jepson. And he didn't pay me my paycheck, and he didn't pay me back the money that was supposed to go for the vehicle, and he didn't pay me the money that he owed me for the tools. My mom was going to go out and talk to him, but he had cocaine, so she had sex with him instead. And she came back in. We got into an argument over her cocaine habit, how much it's affected us. And she kicked me out, and then she called the cops and said that I ran away because I didn't want to wash the dishes. That's when I stopped praying. When all that happened in Virginia, I just needed to go back, see some of my loved ones, get some emotional repair, That didn't get to happen. I mean, sure, if I'm in Boulder, I might see my friends, but if I'm in Boulder, I might get assaulted by a meth head, too. I don't like violence. I don't like people hitting me. I don't like hitting other people. Now, here's a lineage of my threats and why. So, I guess we should start with the why, and then go to the threats. So, I left Virginia because, Natalie, or Alycia, actually, they had shit fucked up in their heads. They just made assumptions, and I wasn't allowed to defend myself. I left the situation. But Alycia claimed that I had threatened her family. I had not. I got back to Boulder, and I got tweakers saying I stalked some girl in Virginia, and I threatened her family, and at least I knew where it came from. That's pretty specific, ain't it? I already knew that Maddie Bowe was the one that was spreading the rumors. They didn't have to tell me her name, but they told me her name anyway. So, I I tried to get a hold of all three of them to get the shit to stop. And the police, they took me in on basically an M1 hold because I was in Nebraska at the time. This is January of 2017. I had a mental breakdown over all that shit. Having nightmares every night. I still have those nightmares about her dying in a car accident. I know she got shot in the head, but that nightmare, it tears me up. So, after a few months of that, I'd left Natalie and Alycia alone to their own devices and tried to get on with my life. But every time I went back to Boulder, I had to deal with some fucking asshole. So I got back a hold of Maddie. I mean, fuck, Maddie, I'm getting treated like a fucking child molester. And, she didn't care. She told me I need to go to AA. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Why the fuck would I wouldn't go to AA? She told me she was trying to recover. But before she told me she was trying to recover, I told her I wanted to blow my head off in front of her. The shit that those people were putting me through over the things that she said. But she let me know that she was trying to recover and she was trying to clean up her life. And I felt bad and I left her alone. But I couldn't see my friends or family and the police weren't doing anything. I had to get a hold of the police. I mean, fuck, people were assaulting me. Threatening to kill me. Accusing me of being a child molester and a rapist and a fucking stalker. So the first threat that I made wasn't in Virginia, and it wasn't towards Natalie. It was towards Maddie Boa. I threatened to blow my own head off. Maddie obviously wasn't gonna fucking do a goddamn thing. I needed Natalie and Alycia to tell the fucking truth. So I got a hold of them. They were really mean. Like, really mean. I hadn't been mean to them. They needed to stop. People are fucking assaulting me. You need to stop being mean to me. Stop pretending like I would hurt you. The cops pretended like I would hurt them and used that as an excuse to hurt me. So, I was still nice about it, I still felt bad for Maddie. I got fucking so sick of it, though. And I deleted almost everything. I was like, fuck these people. I don't want to see their shit on there. I'm just going to delete it. I deleted a bunch of threats. Kind of stupid now. Out of sight, out of mind, But I didn't delete all of them. And, so then Tim Beeson and his bullshit and threatening my life and threatening my family and so on and so forth. That was the second threat that I made. The second threat that I made was right after that. I threatened to expose him and her dad if she didn't call off the dogs. So, she was threatening to call the cops. I let her know I wasn't afraid of the cops. I got fucking plenty of evidence I can show them. Of course, I already knew the cops weren't going to take a look. I'd already tried to get them to take a look. I was hoping that if she called, that they would. Kind of like when I threatened the President of the United States. I was hoping that the opposition would call it in. Because when I call, they ignore me and don't take a report. Or they assault me and inject me with drugs. That's how they treat homeless people who try to turn in police. Homeless people are assumed guilty. That's just how it is. You walk down the street as a homeless person. People call you in as a suspicious person. You must be a thief because you're walking down the street with a backpack. God hasn't done a goddamn thing about any of this. And then these people claiming to believe in Jesus, doing these evil things, and then claiming to love the Jesus. It's okay that I'm evil in the name of Jesus. That's the Bollingers. All these druggies learned that they can get sympathy by playing the Jesus. There's some good Christians out there. There really are. And you can play them good Christians by using Jesus' name. I refuse to do that. I believe in a different God than the rest of y'all. I love the Jesus. If I think of him as a man. But if I think of him as a God who sees everything, then it reminds me that God watched grown men rape me as a child and did nothing. They got away with it scot-free. God watched. God watched me get beat up hundreds of times, literally, for the color of my skin. God just watched. Well, all these people who are in there, most of them just because they're black. It's no joke. In Washington State, it was a lot of Asians and a lot of Mexicans. In Colorado, it was a lot of black kids. But that depends on the facility in Colorado. When I was growing up, God, or rather the belief in God, was what held me together. God never answered a single one of my prayers between the age of 6 and 17. Not a single one of my prayers. I've been looking for a cigarette for the whole time I've been talking. Natalie and Alycia didn't believe the same way as far as their religions go. But Natalie wanted Alycia to be happy. She would have done anything to make Alycia happy. Natalie and Alycia were fighting over a boy when I was in Virginia. And I got to taste the repercussions of that. Something I had nothing to do with. Unless I was the boy they were fighting over. But I ain't a boy, I'm a grown-ass man. I don't know if you can actually hear me. I had this against my keys. It might be a bunch of wrangling and jangling. If Jesus can watch little boys get raped by grown men and do nothing, is that the Jesus you guys remember? Was that part in the Bible? I don't remember that being in the Bible. I remember Jesus dying in the Bible. Resurrected and taken to heaven. It's because he's dead. Living differently, maybe. Living as a soul instead of a body. But his body is dead. He don't exist here anymore. I'm going to pause this a second. Alright, so, the third threat. It was, the same as the second threat. That was in December. I threatened to, retaliate against Tim and Ted again. I still couldn't see my friends or family. The people I was living with stole all my damn money. My vehicle wasn't running. I couldn't see my loved ones. James Payton had stalked Jamie to her house, and Jamie had blamed me. A lot of really fucked up shit was happening. I was tired of getting threatened. I was tired of being assaulted. I'd gone to the police. I'd gone to Pierre. I'd gone to Maverick. I'd gone to Ryan. I'd gone to everybody. Please help. I didn't go into too much detail with my friends. They were busy talking over me. Most of the police officers, I'd get 2 minutes into talking and they'd want to be on their fucking merry way. I threatened to retaliate, and I did. I exposed those son of a bitches for the things that they did to her, and I did it with her own words. I didn't want to. I was sick and tired of being assaulted. I was hurting so bad from not seeing my loved ones. And all of these people who said that they would help since then have done exactly what it is that these other people did that was so wrong. Separating me from my loved ones. If you want me to stop fucking freaking out, let me see my loved ones and leave me the fuck alone. The cops wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. They wouldn't take my report and they wouldn't leave me alone. The Bollingers wouldn't hear me out and they wouldn't leave me alone. These web crazies wouldn't hear me out and they wouldn't leave me alone. It's alright for them to do it. For years on end. But it's not alright for me to do it back just once after years of taking it. I didn't want to do it even once. I didn't want to threaten anybody's life. Not even the people that were threatening mine. I wanted them to follow through with their promises. So, I literally never killed anybody. I literally never threatened anybody. Until, my grandma's funeral. Well, let's go to the fourth threat. first, before we get to all that. The fourth threat, I didn't threaten to kill anybody. I threatened to expose child molesters, and I did. I did that. I sure as fuck did that. My fifth threat was, when Natalie disappeared. I said if people don't come forward, I'm going to expose them, and I have. I got a lot more exposing to do. A lot more people knew what was going on than I posted up, because when I posted up, it ends me up on Facebook ban for showing the truth. These are their words, not mine. So, only what the Bollingers say is allowed in court. So the only stuff that's documented by the courts is their side. Not one law enforcement agent has been willing to take a look at all the shit that I've gone through. Not even one. They add to it instead. Break the law. Everybody knows they're doing this shit. They just look away. They have a dangerous job. That's right, standing outside of the school while your children get shot. You guys allow them to do all of these evil things because you're hoping that if there's a school shooting, they'll show up. They do show up, and they watch. They don't do anything. It's just like the people who said they would help me. They watched. A lot of them did a lot for themselves. Selfish people. So I stopped praying to the Jesus a long time ago. I used to go to a Foursquare church up in Washington State. My dad didn't want me going to church. He was an atheist at the time. He's gotten a little different in his old age, I found out. But I had to sneak out to go to church. I loved Foursquare Church. It was great. In Chapel, Nebraska, I went to the Chapel Assembly of God. It was not great. That place was terrible. I mean, shit. My first week in that church, I found out there's members that are in the KKK. Just because I got beaten up for the color of my skin doesn't mean that I'm okay with that. I didn't like it when it happened to me. Why would I want it to happen to others? I'm against racism. I've felt the shit end of the fucking stick. Now, I needed the people who were involved to come forward and tell the truth. And none of them would. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of people who were not involved, had nothing to do with any of it, didn't know what the fuck was going on. They chose sides. These internet fucking nuts. The rest of the threats for most of January and February was me threatening to expose people like Matty Boa. Come forward or I will. First time I threatened to kill somebody in probably over 2 decades was Ted Bollinger. I said if he does anything to Alycia or Rose or Shelley, basically all the people who got protection orders against me later on through a judge who should have never been allowed to touch another case. What he did on Natalie's protection order put Natalie Bollinger at risk. And that's why I was trying to take him to court, and that's why he was so heavily invested, just like the Bollingers, in making sure that things that they did never see the light of day. There were no consequences for that judge. No consequences for those Bollingers. So the first time that I actually threatened to kill anybody was Ted Bollinger, and only if he did anything to those people. That was at my grandmother's funeral, and I had good reason for it. I was afraid that he had done something to Alycia, so I made the video. I made the video in between when I had gotten a hold of the police, and when Alycia got on there and typed that she was okay finally. After 7 hours of nothing from Alycia, just her dad on her YouTube asking for a phone number that she had. Yeah, that set up some red fucking flags. And then everybody that I threatened to expose, and I did. I did expose them, and I'm going to continue exposing them. Can't do it on my Facebook. It needs to be preserved for evidence. But I can take screenshots from the Facebook and try to find a way to post it up. I mean, I made a YouTube or a web page, but it won't hold very many of those pictures. It doesn't hold but like 200 of them. I gotta go inside and pack my stuff up. They're probably gonna close here pretty soon. The next people I threatened was in August. I threatened to take Natalie and her mother to court. And I threatened to kill all the people who threatened to kill me and my friends and family. If it's okay for them to do it, it's okay for me to do it, right? Oh, it's not? Well, if it's not okay for me, it shouldn't be okay for them either, and that's the whole fucking point of doing that. When I was being threatened, nobody gave a fuck. When I threatened them back, I'm the bad guy. Fuck you, bitch.